Hello, we're going to be talking about the top 10 saints and their superpowers. I'd just like to apologize for my pronunciation or mispronunciation of any of the names. But yeah, without further ado, let's get to the saints. So first on the list is Saint Joseph of Cupertino. And as you can see, he had the power to fly. What would happen is during Mass, he'd be saying his prayers and he would start to levitate, defy gravity. And he actually got into a lot of trouble with the church for this. They said that he was disrupting the service. So I think they did give him punishment. It wasn't too bad, like they didn't kill him or anything. But yeah, he had the power of flight. Then we have Saint Gerad of Majella. And what he could do is he could be in two places at the same time. This is known as the power of bilocation. So what he could do is, while he was praying, he could have Mass in another location in another country. It wasn't just him who could do this. There was another guy who was in three locations at once, like Mexico, Japan, and some other place, I think Peru. And yeah, so a bit of a common power is to be able to be in two locations at the same time. The third saint is also known as Padre Pio or Pio of Pietrelcina. Anyway, he's a famous guy, Padre Pio. Now he had the power of the stigmata. Now, it's not really a power. Stigmata is when you have the wounds of Christ. They would bleed on his hands and on his feet. But he did have all the other saint powers at the same time. Like he could go 20 days without eating just if he had communion. And he could do various other powers which I don't want to give away because we're getting to them in the rest of the video. He was quite recent, in the 20th century, this guy. Science, they tried to disprove it, tried to go into, look at his wounds, but there was no evidence to show that he was lying. The Catholic Church did try to keep him on the down low, didn't want everybody to freak out. But yeah, he had pretty intense supernatural stuff happening to him. Let's look at Saint Basil, or Basil. He's actually the reason why I'm making this video. I read his story and I was just like, whoa, that's so cool. What he would do is whenever he would preach, a little dove would come rest on his shoulder and would whisper, I don't know, some people said that he would whisper words of wisdom in his ear or something, but the dove would rest on his shoulder while he preached. But that's not the cool part. The cool part was once he was giving Mass and he saw this beggar, so he took off his clothes to clothe the beggar. And an angel from heaven, that's where angels come from, came and clothed him in fire, gave him these fiery robes. Also, there's accounts of when he would pray and, give thanks to the Lord, it would be as if a pillar of fire was coming out of him. So yeah, he was pretty cool. He was a very important theologian with that Nicene Creed thingamajig, which was very important in Christian history. And he was also very instrumental in fighting against a thing known as Arianism. Now, you probably don't know what that is, and that just shows what a good job he did. So a real big intellectual was this guy. Then Saint Francis. Saint Francis is probably the most famous guy I have on this list. He was kind of rich, gave all his money up, lived the poverty type of lifestyle. Very lovable guy. Rumors that he would go and preach to birds, and the birds would all come fly and listen to his sermons. But one of his coolest powers was there was a wolf terrorizing a little town, eating everyone. So Saint Francis went to the wolf, spoke to the wolf, brought the wolf to the town, made peace with the wolf in the village, blessed the wolf, and lived happily ever after. Very powerful theologian as well, had some really big things to say. So yeah, definitely worth researching him further. But yeah, he could talk to animals. Okay, now let's get on to the girls. So we've had five guys. Now we're going to be checking out five chicks. And the first female saint is Christina the Astonishing. And what she did was she died when she was like in her early 20s. And at her funeral, something amazing happened. She came back to life, flew around the church, as you can see by the picture, shouting at everyone, saying that she's seen purgatory and that they're all sinners, and that she was going to now suffer to show them the pain that they would go through, or something like that. So she crawled into live ovens, she handled fire, she stood in freezing water, she allowed herself to be mauled by dogs, she was dragged around and around by the mill wheel, and she went through all this like self-infliction, but there was no scratches left on her body. So she had this power of invulnerability. So yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, like, so she couldn't really be hurt. Then this other chick is Saint Agatha of Sicily. Quite a sad story. I mean, she was tortured because she didn't marry someone, and they cut off her breasts, and they were really mean to her. Legend says that Saint Peter himself came to her side and healed her. But then they just tortured her some more. She prayed, and some earthquakes came and killed some of the torturers. But one of the most fascinating things was that Mount Etna was supposed to erupt, and she prayed and it stopped. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Then there is Saint Margaret of Antioch, and she had the power of demon hunting. Yeah, the girls get pretty cool powers. Again, she refused to marry some guy, and she was going to marry him, but he said, one condition, you must give up Christianity, and she didn't, so she was tortured. And one of the torturing, or this is where like the account gets a little bit blurry, some say it's a demon, some say it was a dragon, others say it was Satan himself, swallowed her up, but she had a cross that she kind of used as like a hammer or a crucifix thing, and she cut herself out of the dragon's belly and stabbed it to death, killed it. This earned her a place in the 14 Holy Helpers, and she was one of the saints who spoke to Joan of Arc, I think in a vision. So yeah, these 14 Holy Helpers, I decided to do a little bit more research into it, and I found one of the other 14 Holy Helpers was a saint called Saint Barbara, and she had the power of teleportation. She's got quite a cool story. Her dad locks her in a tower, didn't want her to interact with the outside world, kind of like Rapunzel. He comes back, he wants her to marry some guy, but she says she's a Christian, so then he wants to kill her. So then she says a prayer, a portal opens in the tower, and she manages to teleport to the mountains, where she meets some shepherds. They hide her, but then the one shepherd betrays her by telling her father where she is. He turns to stone, his sheep turns to locusts. The dad captures her, they torture her, telling her no, she must give up Christianity. She stays strong. She remains a Christian. So they decide to, torture her some more. But every night, her wounds would heal. And every time they brought torches to burn her, the torches would go out. So finally, her dad took a sword and beheaded her. But soon after doing that, lightning struck him, and he just burst into flames. Kind of like, don't mess with the child of God. And yeah, so that also got her into the 14 Holy Helpers. And then yeah, finally, there is Saint Quiteria. I don't know how to say that. Okay, basically her story was Her mom had 9 children at the exact same time, and they were all girls. So the mom was upset because back then it was, I think, more important to have a boy. So she tells the maid to go and drown the children in the river. Not a very loving thing to do, because she doesn't want the people to think that she's an animal, the fact that she's given birth to so many children. But the maid hides the daughters. They grow up to become, they turn themselves into a gang. And they run around freeing other Christians from jail and liberating the faith and doing some really cool stuff. They eventually cut off her head, throw her overboard or something. But she able to come out of the water holding her head. Saint Denis did that as well. They also cut his head off, and he walked around with his head still preaching until he found a nice place to, a good burial ground, and that's where he lay down and died. And yeah, that was it. I mean, a lot of these saints also, some crazy stuff happens to them is when they die, their bodies don't decay. It's a power known as irrevocability. And you can Google it. You can even go to Rome, and you can see that there's some saint who's 130 years old, but it looks like she's just gone to sleep. So Google this stuff, research it. It's a lot of fun. Thank you for watching. And yeah, in the comments, what should we discuss? Let's ask, are these myths or legends, or did they actually happen? And then, do you think that this is for the Christians or the Catholics or the religious people? Do you think this is good for Christianity and the faith? Or do you think that these stories introduce a danger in the fact that some people might worship the saints instead of Jesus? It leads to that whole idolatry thing. And there were lots of awesome saints. So please let me know if I left one of them out. So yeah, throw that in the comments. Comments. Blah. Told you I was not good at pronunciation. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.